Welcome back to the Content Empire Show. I am here with Jana from Janna O Media, who is a marketing expert and Pinterest educator for coaches, influencers, and other online experts. Back in 2016, upon discovering that a client was leveraging Pinterest to get leads and sell her services, Jana went all in on the platform. She has since developed a specialization for Pinterest marketing for audience growth and lead generation. She is on a mission to spread the word that when set up properly, Pinterest can attract raving fans and perfect fit clients with a small investment of time each month. Oh my gosh, Jana, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Likewise. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, classic introvert here. I'm like, let's skip the small talk. Let's get to the good stuff that I know you're going to share. But the first thing I want to know is like, how has focusing in on a very narrow but very rich niche like Pinterest marketing served you in your business?
Ooh, such a good question. I feel like it's kind of the best of both worlds in all honesty, because over the years I've realized that, yes, I'm teaching Pinterest. Yes, this is a tool in our toolkit. And I love Pinterest for all the reasons that you just started to mention, the more low maintenance visibility that's more on autopilot than a lot of social media, um, all of those things. But I realized over time that when you are learning how to market on Pinterest,
Mhm.
um, it helps you become a better marketer in a lot of ways. And some of that is because it's a search engine, and we have to really make sure we understand that we are trying to attract people who are searching for the things that we're creating content about and using keywords and that kind of thing. So it really forces us to understand what our audience is looking for and the words they use to look for the solutions that we offer and things like that. But it also gives us this lens to look at our marketing through. Yes, I teach Pinterest, but I actually really talk about in my content and teach a lot about all kinds of things having to do with content strategy, because the two things are really inextricably linked. You can't really succeed on a platform that is a platform where you put your content unless you have a strong content strategy as well. So I like it. It's worked well for me because I can kind of straddle both. I'm talking about a platform, but it's like you said, it's so rich. There's so many things I can talk about and teach about.
Yeah. So for those who are a little scared of niching down, here's some evidence right in front of
Yeah.
you that works. And there's still so much to talk about. I love that. And do you
Mhm.
think like you kind of answered this a little bit, but do you think that like focusing in on Pinterest marketing and being able to talk about it in the context of like marketing strategy and content strategy, do you think that this focus has made content easier or more challenging for you? And in what ways?
Yeah. I think mostly it's made it easier, because again, it gives me that lens to kind of look at the different topics through. And it's made it easier for me to really go deep and deeply understand what it is that people need and want around this topic. I think anytime you are kind of casting your net a little bit too wide, it gets confusing, and you have different audiences and um, uh, different people with different perspectives on things. And when you have this one thing that you're known for, that you teach about, and for me that's Pinterest marketing, you tend to attract people who are kind of like-minded, because there's certain brand values and business values that people tend to have if they're open to Pinterest marketing and they like it. So for example, a lot of people who like Pinterest tend to be visual learners. And a
Mhm.
lot of people who like Pinterest tend to have a lot of regard for and interest in the idea of the long game when it comes to your content strategy and your marketing. People who are planning on being in business for the long haul, not just kind of a flash in the pan, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I feel like it's been really good in that way. I no regrets. No regrets with niching down.
Oh, I love that. And I feel like there's nothing worse than a dead end pin, right? When it looks so good and then it goes nowhere because they're no
Oh
longer.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. Plus, I feel like when it comes to content, there can be such a pressure and such an emphasis on like more, 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 and always creating more. But I have a feeling that by focusing on promoting your content via Pinterest, it can
Mhm.
really encourage more of a focus on like repurposing and leveraging pieces of content in as many ways as possible. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. How do you think that focusing on creating content for Pinterest can influence the way that other like business owners kind of look at content for better or for worse?
Yeah, I think anytime you know that you're going to be using your content on a search engine kind of platform,
Mhm.
it helps you be more intentional about what that content's going to convey, and also reverse engineer the process around how are people going to find this content.
Mhm.
So for example, I remember when I first started blogging back in the day, when I first started my business, I was like, okay, I like to write, I'm going to blog. Well, I've come a long way since then. And I'm sure you can relate to this, and a lot of your clients and students can too, where eventually you realize that we're not just blogging to like express our opinions and whatnot. That's part of it, but we're also blogging for Google.
Mhm.
Same thing with Pinterest. If you know that you're going to create your Instagram reels, let's say, or your YouTube shorts or your TikToks, with the intention of making those pieces of content work on Pinterest, which is actually a search engine as opposed to just a social media channel, then you probably are going to at some point realize that backing up a step and thinking, okay, what keyword am I going to target on Pinterest when I take this piece of content that I created on one platform and translate it over and put it on this second platform? And by doing that, by thinking, okay, what would people be searching for around my area of expertise, we start to really follow that trail of like, okay, well, what do my people want? What are they telling me they want? How do I learn what they want? Oh, I look in the comments. I look and answer the public. I start to think about how my content is solving a real problem that real people have. So I think, is that what you mean by that? I think that's what you mean, where
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
thinking about how when you put this on Pinterest, it's going to need to be found by people who are searching for something. And that's a big aha moment, or a collection of aha moments for a lot of people.
Mhm. And I love that you say that, because one thing that comes to me is like this misconception that by prioritizing keywords and prioritizing SEO in your marketing, that it's going to dehumanize it in some way. And we've all
Mm.
like read those AI generated posts, and some of them are
Ugh.
good. They're getting better and better, but they just like keyword stuff the heck out of them, where it's
Yeah.
almost illegible like to
Yeah.
read it. And so I
Mhm.
feel like at least people I've come across in my courses and stuff are like, how much should I be focusing on keywords? And it sounds to me like you want to know what that is, but like just so that you can optimize it for that, and on
Yeah.
Pinterest, and especially like your descriptions and everything like that. But it's kind of like that in the process, right? And then you go and create the content.
Yeah, it's almost like you kind of have to have a loose grip on it, if that makes sense. Like,
That-
you know what
yeah.
keywords you're trying to target, but you're not gonna hold on so tightly that everything is just all keyword centric, because then it's like you're a robot, right? So
Yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I
Yeah.
love that. Hold it lightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say like write for people first and robots second.
Right. Totally. That's exactly what it is. Yep.
Mhm. One of the things that has been rolling around in my head for, well, years, but really clearly over the past year, is this idea of approaching content as a long-term asset, so that you can
Mm,
intentionally like build out a body of work with your content, which I think might be a view that we share, because I remember
yeah.
coming across your system for, I believe, creating a library of like Facebook group posts that, that you would cycle through, that did a lot of like, it did a lot of good for your visibility and getting that Pinterest message out to the masses with you tied to it there. So I'd love to know, how do you personally, like, I'm sure it's evolved since then because this was a while ago, but how do you
Yeah.
personally tackle content creation? Are you creating like new all the time, or focusing on pieces that you can reshare and repurpose again and again?
Oh yeah, such a good question. I definitely lean in the direction of creating things that I can repurpose over and over again. And I actually often say these days, I do a clubhouse room every Monday about content repurposing, where we all share what we're repurposing and the tools we're using to do so and things like that. And I often say that content repurposing to me doesn't even feel like a strategy anymore. It feels more like a way of life,
Yeah.
where I don't even have to think about it so much anymore. When you're first learning to do it and you're realizing that, hey, I don't have to keep creating new things over and over again, it's like a muscle. It takes a while to kind of like get into it and remind yourself to do it. But then, much like muscle memory works, after a while, it's just sort of your knee jerk reaction to think, not even to think, but just to be like, okay, I created this. Now, where else am I going to put it? And how else am I going to package it up and all that kind of stuff? So, yeah, no, I definitely think of it as more of a long-term asset. And part of that involves banking it. So what you're referring to is a content banking system that I used to use,
Mhm.
that I still have, that I sometimes go back to, where in Asana, where every time I'm creating a piece of content, I'm putting it in a system so that it can be reused, and also so that I will remember to reuse it in a systematic way.
Mhm.
And there's all kinds of ways you can do that, but I think everyone should have something like that. And I know in your program that I have been in as well, there's a content banking system that is one really good way to do it. If someone needs a structure for
Mhm.
doing that, that's a great place to start. But having somewhere where you're organizing your content so that you can go back and reuse it in a systematic way is key to both being efficient with your content and being omnipresent for people, and also underscoring your messages and having lots of touch points for people so that you can um, connect with them in multiple ways, because most people need to see you in multiple places in multiple ways before they even come close to getting ready to buy, right?
Yeah, right along with that, like effective frequency. I think it used to be 21 times, but we're probably so much more now. Those different touch
Yeah,
points that people need before they feel comfortable enough or the idea permeates enough with all of
right.
the distractions popping
Yeah.
up
Oh yeah,
all
I
over.
remember that 21 touches. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but so
Yeah.
yeah, similar kind of concept. Yeah. And
Hmm.
then I think another like kind of related to this, but another interesting conversation that we've had lately is around the idea of using content to sell. And I'm of the view that like the role of your content is to get people like 80% of the way sold before you ever even send a sales invitation.
Yep.
And we worked together on your funnel back in 2020 and 2019,
Yes.
2020, and now again in 2023. And one of the reasons why I believe that it's been as successful as it has, besides like the testing and optimization process that I'm kind of a broken record on, is really because of you and your focus on creating like super high value content, showing up in Clubhouse, giving really generously, and building your community, which gets your people almost all of the way there, with the sales funnel, like doing that teeny tiny part at the end to kind of like cinch the deal.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, like, is that like the using free content to sell part of your thinking as you're creating or planning out your content?
Yeah, absolutely. That funnel that you created for me is still converting really well, years later, which is amazing. And I do agree that all the testing and the tweaking to get it to the point where it was, converting at that rate that was now sustainable, was a huge part of it. But yeah, I think that the idea that the funnel and the emails that go out, for example, and just the entire piece of the funnel, it's more like it's not doing all the sales work. It's more like the
Mhm.
catalyst, right? The thing that actually pushes someone kind of like over the edge, if that makes sense, or, the catalyst really for that sale. But all of that nurture content and all of that education content is there to, like you said, get them 80% of the way there. And then when they're ready, to purchase, the funnel's there to be the catalyst. So I totally agree with that. I think that, what was I going to say? I think it's also, there's something too about being willing to stick again, back to content repurposing, stick
Mhm.
to the same messages over and over again.
Yeah.
And I saw this graphic the other day. I think it was Jazz Olins who shared it on Instagram, and it was so good. It was like a bar graph, and on one bar it was just two bars, one tiny little bar and one really tall one. And the tall one was like the number of people in the online space that want to show up, book clients, make sales, and make a big impact and lots of money in their business. And then the
Mhm.
tiny bar was the percentage of people who are willing to show up every darn day. I think he said the other D word, but every darn day, and repeat the same thing over and over to get those results. And I think there's something about that repetition that most people, aren't willing to do, that also has helped, me to continue to have that funnel that you created be working over
Mhm.
time. So yeah, anyway, I digress a bit, but
No, that's a great point because I do
yeah.
think like the ultimate truth is this with any sales funnel, whether you DIY it, whether you get someone to help you, is that even the best funnel in the world will not work unless you are not showing up every darn or damn day.
Yeah.
Doing that repetition and the same thing over
Mhm.
again and willing
Right.
to do that nurture part of the content. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, how are they finding you? How are they even getting to the top of that funnel and doing anything with
Right.
it? Yeah.
Right. And that's what the traffic phase that you teach, both in a one-on-one capacity through the funnel building and also in your programs, is about, is remembering that you can't just build the thing and then step back. You have to now shift into thinking, okay, how can I get people to this content now? Right.
Yeah. And I think if anyone is interested, like your clubhouse rooms are incredible. I would love to know like any kind of like insider
Thanks.
tips or anything on like how you are repurposing those or any strategies or tools that you're
Oh,
using? Uh, Give us a
yeah. So
fly on the wall experience.
yeah, so sure. I mean, yeah, this is a conversation that's interesting. We didn't really plan on going in this direction, but with Clubhouse, they
Mhm.
do have replays available now. So you can record your rooms and you can leave the replays up for as long as you want. So quite often you'll see me recording the rooms, leaving them up for a day or two for
Mhm.
visibility, and then downloading the audio and transcribing it and using that to to do all kinds of things, blog posts, captions on social posts. I mean, I have to rework them a little bit, but
Mhm.
using that information there, but then not leaving my replays up on Clubhouse constantly because I still want people to seek me out on other platforms as well. That's kind of part of the idea with Clubhouse, is to have that, bring them toward me, bring them to my blog, bring them, to my masterclass, things like that.
Yeah. And like circling back to the idea of Pinterest marketing, what
Mm.
would you say is your top tip for people? Now we're just about to head into 2023. What is your top tip for people who are just getting started with Pinterest marketing, or
Oh,
curious, but maybe a little overwhelmed, but like want to dip
yeah.
their toe in, besides like obviously go and follow all the your things to
Thanks.
learn it. But like, what would you distill that top tip down to?
Yeah. It's interesting because we're going into 2023. I've just recently coined the phrase Pinterest 3.0 because Pinterest 1.0 was the time in the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, Idea pins ushered in Pinterest 2.0, and then Pinterest 3.0 has some new hallmarks and think there's new things that are happening, including standard pins with links starting to get more reach again. But we'll still need idea pins to drive that engagement. But I think that, so people are always saying like, oh, Pinterest is constantly changing. And I think my top tip is, focus on the things about Pinterest and any platform really that aren't changing. And so and I know that sounds a little funny, but you have to have your finger on the pulse of what's new and what's changing, but also the foundational thing. So on Pinterest, the foundational thing is the keywords. And I
Mhm.
know it's not the sexy part, but still it's so important. So I would say anyone who's getting started with Pinterest, just remember when you're approaching it, that at some point you're going to need to have the clarity about what people are searching for on Pinterest about your thing.
Mhm.
So you're going to need to do keyword research and know what those keywords are that you want to use on your profile and on your pins to attract the right people. You could start by learning that keyword research if you want, or if that doesn't feel fun, you can jump in and start with other things, but eventually you want to circle back and get clear by doing keyword research on what people are looking for on your topics on Pinterest. And that's going to make all the world of difference. So my top tip is, remember, at some point, to be successful, you're going to want to prioritize the keyword research and the keyword optimization because it's a search engine.
Mhm. And I didn't like, you just say so many good things that force me to go down tangents too. But I love that it is what I love about Pinterest is it's as opposed to other platforms, like certainly engagement and followers are kind of important over there. But like it kind of feels like it's an even playing field over
Right.
a lot more platforms, which give
Mhm.
new accounts an opportunity to thrive, even if they're new.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't need necessarily to have a lot of followers or a huge audience to be discovered in search if the thing that you are creating that pin about is something people are looking for and you keyword it properly. So there are a lot of opportunities. That's not to say that accounts that have been around for a long time might not have a little bit of an edge in some ways, but you're right, it is more of an even playing field, and you don't have to have thousands, of followers to get your content found because it's keyword based.
Yeah, so we're saying it here, if it's in the back of your head, that 2023 is not too late to start your Pinterest account and start marketing on Pinterest.
No, it's a great time.
Oh, I love that. And speaking of Pinterest, I know that you have a really, really great resource for people to really get started with Pinterest. Speaking of like getting started in 2023 with Pinterest, the 5 secrets for getting clients using Pinterest masterclass. Share what people are going to learn in it and where they can go and find it. And I will make sure to put the link down below too.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, it's the 5 secrets for growing your audience on autopilot and getting clients. And it's really specifically for service-based businesses. So strategies in there that I teach are for coaches and consultants and service-based businesses, course creators as well, even though technically course creators are selling a product, but it's that knowledge-based entrepreneur that this is going to be really great for. And basically it helps you to reduce kind of the overwhelm that comes from hearing all the different advice and different, information out there about Pinterest. A lot of the information people discover on Pinterest is also more for like e-com sellers or people who are blogging as a business as opposed to for a business. So this is really the 5 secrets or the strategies that you need to know about and the things you need to know about to be able to understand that Pinterest is a search engine, and the things that you will need to do a little differently so that you can kind of shorten that learning curve and get better results faster if you're going to get started with Pinterest. So those are really the 5 secrets kind of revolve around those things. Yeah.
And it's super easy to find. And I'll put the link below, but janaomedia.com/free class. So a nice URL to find it too. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I always like to end things with this little lightning round of questions. And this was something that back quite a while ago, people voted on. These are the questions that they're the most curious about. So I always like to ask them. So kind of a lightning round, whatever kind of first comes to mind, there's no wrong or right answer. So 5 of them. First thing is, what is your latest content or marketing tool discovery?
Ooh, so there's a new, it's not new, but it's a website that's a little new to me called inflact.com. And I use it to download Instagram reels and stories without the watermarks so that I can repurpose them to become Pinterest idea pins. And I do this for myself and for clients too. So it's inflact.com. And there is a free version, but I pay $3 a month for the paid version because it's better.
Oh, that's so good. Okay. Most profound business course or program that you've taken?
Honestly, the creation of my funnel with you was definitely the most impactful thing I've ever invested in or done for my business and your content, your Empire program, because it goes along with that and it teaches kind of like that same process for people. I would say that, that's definitely the most impactful thing that's made me the best ROI in my business.
Oh, well, that means so much, especially coming from you. And I didn't pay her to say this, although I'll send your payment.
No, no, it's totally true from my heart.
What is one marketing trend that you are passing on for now?
Ooh, for better or for worse, TikTok. I'm not doing TikTok. I'm just not. And I don't know if it's a trend or not, but it's not something that I am prioritizing right now. I really want to focus on more lasting content. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What is your planner of choice for 2023?
The one that I've just designed for myself in Asana. So I have a big picture plan project that I duplicate every year. And then it helps me break things down into quarters and months. And so I have my own little system in Asana that I use.
I love that you said that. I love to encourage people to create more of their own planners. If you can't find what you're looking for, you can go and create it. There are so many tools to do that.
Yeah.
Where would you invest 10K in your business today?
I mean, I don't need to sound like a broken record, but I think that, again, creating funnels for your offers is just the best investment that you can make. So, I already have invested in a second funnel that'll lead to my course. But yeah, that's it for me, is creating those funnels and those more long-term assets that live on my website and help me grow my email list, the things that I feel are really moving the mark for me or moving the needle and are things that I own and that I can control. So anything that would grow my blog, my email list, and the funnels that are these evergreen systems that I have in place is where I would put my money. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. And where can people find you online or social media? And I will put that masterclass down below too.
Perfect. Yeah. So that masterclass is at janaomedia.com/free class. And it's a great place to start. But if you want to learn just kind of like more about me and see my blog and stuff, you can also go to just my website, which is janaomedia.com. So it's JANAO media.com.
I love that. And in Clubhouse, you have great Clubhouse rooms that you run as well. That's a good place to check you out too. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here, being my first inaugural guest in years and years and years, because I knew that I wanted to talk to you because we think very similarly when it comes to content. It's good to get that effective frequency, that messaging across long-term assets. Work smarter, not harder.
Yes. Cheers to that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I so appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.